Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me today is Zach Jalab and Michael McCubbin. Welcome aboard, boys. And today we're talking about the most underrated players in the Champions League so far, because at the Hass Kareem, friend of the channel, you're right, Hass, asked, is Ilicic the most underrated player in the competition? But before we get into that, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Eurofootball Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a video. And a quick update from the FD team. Basically, we're quite unsure about what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, but we're going to work as hard as possible to keep producing as much content as possible for you guys. But we'll keep you in the loop as we have more information, because the situation in Britain is changing quite fast. But anyway, more on that later, possibly. But another week of Champions League football has gone by. It might be the last for a while. And arguably the best performer was Atalanta's Josip Ilicic, who scored 4 goals against Valencia. And we wanted to analyse which other players have slightly gone under the radar in this year's competition. But McCubbs, let's start with Ilicic, because it was a virtuoso display.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a shame no one was there to see it, in some ways. Probably good that they didn't. But a great performance nonetheless. Obviously magnificent in that 4-3 away victory at the Mestalla against Valencia. 4 goals on the night. Obviously 2 of them were pens, but 4 goals from 6 shots, super clinical. All-round game, fantastic. 4 tackles and interceptions, 2 dribbles, 1 key pass as well. First to score 4 and a knockout tie away from home in Champions League history, which is pretty mad, considering we've had the likes of Ronaldo dominating the competition for the last few years, and obviously Ilicic himself hadn't even scored a goal in the UCL in his career until the last couple of months, until this tie against Valencia. Super impressive. Oldest player to score at away UCL hat trick as well, overtaking Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who must have done it quite a while ago now. And this is just another great performance in what has been a fantastic season for the Slovenian. 28 league and Champions League games. He's got 20 goals and 5 assists. He's averaging 1.02 expected goals and assists per 90. 5 goals in 7 UCL games. Obviously, all of those 5 goals coming in the last 2. And this output is backed up by his underlying stats as well. He's taken 2.6 shots a game in the UCL. That goes up to 4.5 in Serie A, which is obviously one of the best in Europe. 1.9 key passes, that goes up to 3.1 in Serie A, and 3.7 dribbles in the Champions League, that goes down to 3.1 in Serie A. Still super impressive for someone who's turning 33 this year. Clearly still incredibly mobile, incredibly dynamic, such a great all-round centre forward. A real late bloomer, because this is, the last couple of seasons really have been his best. Last year he got 12 goals and 7 assists in 31 league appearances, which is still very good, but it just seems like he's exploded this term in particular. For Fiorentina, he had a pretty good record in the Europa League, 10 goals and 3 assists in 24 games, and that's when they reached the semi-finals back in 2015. He's one of these players who's he's been pretty well respected for quite a while in Italy at least. But I think he's kind of slightly gone under the radar, and suddenly his performances this season have just kind of earned him the plaudits of everyone. I know I don't necessarily watch as much Italian football as say you, Doogie, or Hamill, but I know you guys have been really singing his praises for the last few months.
For sure. I mean, particularly Hamill. Hamill started a campaign, I think it's a one-man campaign at the moment, to get him sort of the respect he deserves, and saying that he's the best player in Serie A on the basis of this season. And it's quite difficult to argue. I mean, Ciro Immobile's obviously had a fantastic campaign. Ronaldo scored a lot of goals, and Lukaku slightly dropped off in the last couple of months. But Ilicic has just been part of a seriously exciting Atalanta side. This will be their 3rd top 4 finish, hopefully, in the last 4 years. Papu Gomez is obviously exceptional. There's other players that slightly go under the radar as well, like Hatterber, their right back, Goossens, their left back. Remo Freuler, I think, is a really exciting player as well. Scored a great goal against Valencia in the first leg of this tie. So there's plenty for Atalanta fans to get excited about on the pitch at the moment. And I think only Bayern Munich and PSG have scored more goals in Europe's top 5 leagues.
I'd hate to be whoever pulls them.
For sure.
Because now is probably when you go, actually, they're not to be messed with. Previously, you pulled them.
And they've got absolutely nothing to lose as well.
Yeah.
Like, first year in the Champions League, they're into the quarterfinals. They've absolutely shocked it. They're this year's Ajax, and they fully deserve to be here.
I'm going to say, George said something which I think I find quite funny, is that he reminds him of the Pepperami Man. Because he's so gangly, but yet like when I watched the Valencia highlights, it just seemed like everything went through him.
Yeah.
Like I think it's his hat-trick goal where he passes the ball to Zapata, and Zapata, I don't know whether he means it, but he gives it back to him on the edge of the box. It's kind of like he looks at everyone and goes like, am I just having to do everything here today? And then just dribble past and puts it in the bottom right-hand corner.
He is not weird. He's not normally shaped for a forward. It's quite interesting. But anyway, Zach, it seems silly with having Chelsea FC's finest here to not talk about a guy who has shone throughout the year, but particularly in the Champions League as well, in Kovacic.
Yes. I think everyone's been so pleasantly surprised by Mateo Kovacic. His first season at Stamford Bridge wasn't necessarily a success, you would say. He didn't really bring a lot. There was only his ball carrying ability, which he is still doing today. He's completing about 3.7 dribbles per 90, which is the highest at Chelsea, which is really, really impressive. And he did do that last season. At times it was kind of, you couldn't really tell whether Eden Hazard was on the ball or if it was Kovacic, because they've both got very similar patterns to their dribbling technique. But this year he's really stepped up. The things that kind of made him so good in Italy and also so good for Real Madrid was like his ability to get the ball back. He may lose the ball, but then he's always running back. And he's got this really fantastic technique to essentially slide from behind them, which can give you a red card, but normally comes out with the ball
Times it really well.
very, very often. But in the Champions League so far this campaign, he's got a goal, which isn't something you necessarily believe when Kovacic is playing. It's the one. I think if he could improve his goal scoring ability, he'd be up there with the top 5 midfielders in the world. But the issue is he's only got 1 goal in the Champions League, and in the Premier League he's got 3 assists and a goal as well. Though that goal was also a worldie against Valencia and much needed for Chelsea. But for Chelsea, he's arguably been the player of the season. Unless Billy Gilmour has a worldie for the rest of the campaign, it's Mateo Kovacic. And where now he is currently injured and out on the sidelines, but whilst other players were getting injured and people like Jorginho and Kante were in and out of the midfield, Kovacic stepped up properly and basically kind of won the game for us on many occasions. I can't think of how many times he's been an absolute workhorse and covered the amount of distance he has on the pitch. I mean, he's making 4.2 tackles and interceptions a game. That's ridiculous for a midfielder. And to think Chelsea only got him for 40 million euros, I think, roughly. I think we got quite lucky with that. Even though we had a transfer ban, we were able to bring him in. If he wasn't here this season and he went back to Real Madrid, God knows where he'd be.
Yeah,
I would not actually like to think about it.
With those injuries,
You'd need Barkley to perform. I mean, he's performed well in the last month.
He's been better recently, but Mateo Kovacic right now, well, before his injury anyway, was the kind of glue to our midfield.
Yeah.
Especially we don't probably talk about it enough, but his ability to kind of take the ball from defence into attack has helped us so many times. So for our counter-attack of goals, he's been perfect.
I think it's 3.7 dribbles per 90, which is like winger levels. And he's just such a fun player to watch. He really makes it look so easy when he's on form. And as you say, making such a difference. I think only Messi has completed more dribbles than him in the Champions League this term.
Really?
Which is pretty crazy considering he's a midfielder.
I do remember that game again. I think that game against that 4-4 against Ajax.
Yeah.
He was just running through the Ajax midfield like
he was just calling for the ball constantly.
He must have completed like 9 dribbles that night. I don't know what it was, but he was just so good.
I forget how young he is as well. He's only 25.
I know. Yeah. He's got so many years.
He's got such a good future at Chelsea. I just think if he could improve his goal scoring ability, that's when you would say he's like elite. Because currently, even his assists, he's only got 3 assists, which for a midfielder isn't necessarily something you probably want more from. However, when
he's doing a lot of work.
When he's playing with someone like Mason Mount and Barkley next to him, you kind of assume, okay, you can't do everything. Let them kind of be the creative outlet for that.
Yeah, maybe not quite in that elite bracket yet, but he's certainly got an elite haircut. Me and Kovacic, exactly. I style myself off Kovacic. But anyway, let's move on to a couple more underrated players, because I think Driss Mertens in all the chaos going on at at Napoli in Naples, has slightly gone under the radar. So he's got 6 goals this term. Only Lewandowski and Haaland have got more in the competition. He got 2 goals against Liverpool in their 2 games. He's got 2 against Genk. Also got that crucial goal against Barcelona in that the first leg of that tie, which I'm not quite sure when that will be next played, that second leg. But yeah, what a performance from him. And has played actually pretty consistently throughout the year. So 21 league appearances, 6 goals, 4 assists. And with Hirving Lozano struggling to settle there, with Milik playing exceptionally well when he's fit, but still having his injury issues occasionally. Like, once again, it's come down to Driss Mertens. And considering that there was talk about him leaving for Chelsea in January, the way he managed to keep his focus and keep his performances level really high deserves a lot of respect. And he's now got 9 goals in his last 13 Champions League games, which is really pretty impressive. So well done to the little man Mertens. But McCubbs, another player I think we have to mention in this is Di Maria. Obviously ex-Man United, but what a campaign he's had.
Oh, amazing, absolutely amazing. I'd maybe stop at saying he's underrated, because I think he really has earned the plaudits this season, and quite rightly. Like, I think this is probably the most dominant we've seen him in a side maybe since that 13-14 campaign at Real Madrid. I know his first season at Paris as well was very, very impressive. But I think this year there's just been a little bit more onus on him. I think with Neymar's kind of recurring injuries and stuff. I think there has suddenly kind of been a need for someone to really keep that attack ticking. And I think actually if you took Di Maria out of that attack, you'd maybe actually see a drop off in production from the likes of like Icardi and Mbappé as well, just because he links midfield and attack so well. So like, I mean, going into the stats, 4 goals and 2 assists in the Champions League. That's his best return since 13-14.
Wow.
And in that run, he's scored twice against Real Madrid in 1 game, 3 assists in 1 game against Club Brugge. So very much concentrated on a few games, but just shows how dominant he's been in such fixtures. And overall this season, 10 goals, 18 assists. He's already got 18 assists in the league and Champions League. That's 33 games, so 28 goal involvements in 33 games from midfield. Not bad at all. 0.99 expected goals and assists per 90 in the league. That's up from 0.7 last season. So that's almost 0.3. And for a guy who's in his 30s, that's outstanding. 2 goals and 7 assists in his last 8 games. Also, doing a lot of defensive work as well. He racked up 4 tackles and interceptions against Dortmund in the 2-0 win. Very much one of the key players there in what was otherwise a fairly drab game. Yeah. So I think Di Maria, easily one of the top players in Europe this season. I think he's probably benefited as well from PSG just evolving that little bit more under Tuchel as well. They just look like such a more legitimate outfit this season, don't they? So I think it's a bit of both. I think clearly the coaching is improving that team as a whole. He's got someone like Idrissa Gueye behind him now as well, who, along with Verratti, makes that midfield so impenetrable, at least in a defensive sense. So he probably got a bit more freedom than he used to in that sense. But yeah, you've got to give credit to him as well, because it's not easy to kind of have these ridiculously high standards for quite a long time in your career and continue to kind of surprise people with your performances. So I think Di Maria's been absolutely fantastic.
He deserves a lot of credit. The only downside was that yellow card picked up the other night. I think in protest to the sort of Emre Can red. I think it was during that sort of scuffle. And he now misses the first leg of the quarter-final, which is pretty gutting. But I'm in complete agreement with McCubbs. PSG just looked like such a more solid outfit this year. And I was really impressed with them the other night. Like, they limited Haaland. They just completely nullified it.
Yeah.
He was nowhere. And took the piss out of him afterwards, which I'm not such a big fan of, but it's all good.
He loves it.
It's all good fun and games.
He was calling for it.
Another player to mention who I think has been excellent in this year's competition is Toni Kroos. So 5 Champions League appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist. But get a load of these numbers. So 4.2 tackles and interceptions, which is a lot even for Kroos at his pomp. 2.6 shots, 4.4 key passes, 4.4 and 1.2 dribbles.
That's Payet numbers.
It's crazy. And he does take set pieces, which Pato always likes to bring up whenever I mention how creative Kroos is.
Most creators do, to be fair.
Exactly. Someone's got to take him, and he's very good at it. And I think he's been phenomenal all year. And I think people are, in the office are slowly coming around to the idea that Kroos has actually had a very good campaign, along with sort of Casemiro and Benzema. I think he's probably been their best players, and Courtois as well. And only Van Dijk and Rodri and Bonucci have a higher passes per game than his. I think it's around 85, and he's 7th for pass accuracy too. So he's keeping that Real Madrid team ticking over. Obviously, that second leg is suspended, and Real Madrid might well go out. But what a year he's had, and I think it looks. A year or so ago, people were maybe saying maybe Real Madrid can move on from Kroos at the end of this year. It now looks like it will be Modric that they move on rather than Kroos, for sure. But yeah, Kroos deserves a lot of credit. I'm just trying to think, another couple of players. Serge Gnabry, Zach, probably deserves a shout.
Yeah, he's had a really good campaigin. It is weird to think about Serge Gnabry's career, considering he didn't get any game time at West Brom. And now he's one of the stars at Bayern Munich. I mean, he's played 6 games, he's got 6 goals, and he's got 1 assist as well to boot. He was fantastic against Chelsea. He was arguably the standout player, and he loves playing in London, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's done it several times as well, when they played Spurs. He really allows that attack. He's so quick, and in a team where Koeman is in and out with injury all the time, and he's having to play from the right flank, left flank, and even up front at times with Lewandowski out. I think he's really come into his own this year, and people after this Champions League campaign are really starting to see that maybe he isn't so underrated anymore, and he's just a star player evolving.
He just gets goals, through hook or by crook, and they're generally stunning. But he's just an absolute pure goal scorer.
Arsenal must be kicking themselves.
His record for Germany is something like 13-13. I agree, and what an evolution. I've never seen anything quite like it. And fair play to him, because a couple of loan spells, that move to Hoffenheim, really come into his own. And a couple of brief names to mention before we wrap up this section. Mats Hummels leads the way on interceptions. I've given him a lot of stick this year, but he actually played really well, particularly in that first leg against PSG. Gabi Jesus, 5 goals in 6 appearances. Good to see him sort of really establish his Premier League
well
form
against
on that.
Real Madrid as well.
Yeah,
he's playing like a left wing back at moments as well. I mean,
that commitment to what Guardiola wants him to do. I think with him being so much younger than Aguero, it's so much easier to mould him into.
We were questioning when Aguero was dropped and Gabi was starting. We were questioning whether that was the right decision, and I mean, it showed why Pep's a world-class manager, and we sit in a room and talk about football.
Exactly. We can only dream of being on the touchlines at the Bernabeu. But guys, okay, so of all the names we've mentioned, who would you say is your underrated star of the Champions League? If you had to give it to one.
I think Ilicic, is probably the number one. He's especially if he carries on this form going into the quarters as well. He's for underrated, because the other ones I feel like they are rated. Kovacic is rated, Gnabry's rated, Di Maria, and so is Toni Kroos. Whereas Atalanta this year have just, I think, them in general have just been all underdogs, and anyone who pulls them in the next bracket needs to take them seriously.
Macubs, you in agreement?
To an extent, I think Toni Kroos as well. I think, like you were saying, I think he had a lot of slightly unnecessary stick, I think, in the last couple of years. Clearly, his performance has dropped off, but I think people are finally coming around to the idea that he's actually been pretty bloody good this season. Whether or not that's because of Madrid's midfield slightly rejigging itself and whatnot, and playing to his advantage, but it's just great to see him really dominating games again. So I think he's definitely in with the shout as well.
Yeah, and final shout, Konrad Laimer for Leipzig. I think it's been exceptional all year. Obviously, don't watch his full 90s every week, but from what I've seen, I think he'd be in my Bundesliga team of the year. He's been awesome in those 2 ties against Spurs as well. So those are our sort of underrated or players that deserve more respect in the Champions League for this year. I hope you enjoyed our thoughts, and let's move on to our next section. Quickfire questions now. We've got a juicy one for you from @Joseph Donachie, who says, was Klopp right to criticise the way Atletico played across the 2 legs? And should other teams look at how Atletico played and adapt it when playing Liverpool? Zach, what were your thoughts? Because Klopp admitted he wasn't a very good loser, but did you think he went a bit far in criticising Atleti's style?
Yeah. I do have to say, fair play to Klopp for admitting that, because I'm probably in the same boat. I would do the exact same thing, especially when you've got your team playing such nice football. And it's been a pretty disastrous 3 weeks for them. They've gone out of the FA Cup. They lost their invincibility in the league, and now the Champions League as well. Look, I remember when we watched it's probably more annoying because when we watched the home leg, Atleti just they did the system perfectly.
Yeah.
Whereas in the away leg, it wasn't as perfect. It was
There's
actually
a lot of shots.
It was actually
Yeah.
a lot more lucky that they were able to keep them scoreless for so long. So to that extent, I can understand it when it's not necessarily as pretty of a performance from Atleti, but that's football. I mean, you're a club which are probably one of the best 5 in the world right now, and so when a team says, okay, we're not going to be able to compete to them by doing the same tactics as them, we're going to have to go a bit more defensive. You've just got to kind of stick your hand. That's football. And it's not like Atleti just decided for that game they were going to do that. That's what Atleti do.
Yeah.
That's literally their
last
style.
10 years.
For the last 10 years, especially with Simeone at the helm, that's what he does. And I thought Simeone's comments as well was, we win at all costs, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think for Jurgen, I do think it was maybe an in the moment kind of thing to say that, especially when he was like, oh, with the players they've got, they could be playing such better football. And it's like, they've done this for so long.
Philosophical snobbery.
Really, yeah, and it's also to a point
also
of like,
they do not have the squad that Liverpool have.
Yeah.
Like you can't get away from that. Like that's a defence that's only really been constructed this season. Okay, like their midfield is very good, but their attack is nowhere near the level of Liverpool's.
Yeah.
It really isn't, and they're 6th in La Liga. Like you're playing the sixth best team in La Liga right now, and you're probably the best team in the world. Like, what do you expect?
I think you're right. I think it's Jurgen's like. It's just not. I don't know, because the fact he admits that what he is essentially he admits what he's saying is wrong, and I think he knows that. But I guess with the emotions that in the moment and having essentially the world against you, as it probably was.
It's frustrating as well because they should have won it in 90 minutes. They played unreal. It was pretty much everything but their finishing, which
Oblak made some really good saves, and they hit the woodwork. A couple
Mo
of
Salah
times.
kept on trying to cannon it every time.
But that's football. Like,
that is football, and they hit the bar.
Yeah, like
it's just the nature of the game.
Literally.
Out of interest, guys, you're McCubbin saying that Liverpool have a much better team. From Atletico's team, I love a combined 11.
There you go.
There we go.
Who would you have put in there?
go.
Obviously, Oblak.
Thomas Partey as well, I think.
Thomas
I would have put in
Partey
there.
would probably make it. Maybe Jimenez instead of Gomez?
Maybe, but
Koke instead of Wijnaldum?
I really like who's their fullback. Is it Lodi?
Lodi.
Although I thought Lodi
But
had
then,
a
again,
didn't have a good
but
game
the
in
first
first leg.
the
He was
first
unreal.
leg he was unbelievable. I really liked as well, obviously Robertson's comments after
Did
the
not
first
age well.
leg. Did not age well
Yeah.
at all.
I think that might be about it.
And the other thing as well, like you got to say, is Liverpool were unfortunate the fact that like they didn't have Alisson in goal. But again, that's just football. Like you can't. You should think about when Chelsea won the Champions League. That was the same kind of performance. Very defensive. I'm pretty sure Bayern had something close to like 40 shots, if not more. But you, I just think you can't really, especially when you've played that well, right, throughout the whole of the season. To then come out and be like, oh my God, the teams are playing so badly. But that's football. They're going to have to sit back. They're going to have to counter you.
I do think it's just. I think it's just that frustration though, because it's like Klopp sat there on the sidelines, watched his team put in easily their best performance in at least a month.
For sure.
And then watched as the season essentially came to an end. It's like there's nothing really left to fight for aside from just getting over the line in the Premier League now. So I can see why like it's quite frustrating because this is a manager who's now just seeing like, okay, now the next 2 months I've really not got that much to fight for. So I can see. Sorry,
Premier League points.
Premier League points record for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things really. But I think on the subject of like have other teams been inspired, I think like. I don't know. I think there was. I might be giving a bit too much credit to United's defensive performance, but I think United's defensive performance against Man City on the weekend was one of the best I've seen from United this season. Maybe the best I've seen from United this season. And I definitely like feel like Solskjaer would have studied that Atleti the Wanda Metropolitano game in a bit of detail because I saw a marked improvement from. Say the win at Chelsea in mid-February, but that was the last kind of significant game that United won in that style. And I thought like against Chelsea, the defence wasn't particularly amazing to be honest, and it was more just a kind of a case of which team kind of took their chances in a relatively poor quality game. Whereas I thought on the weekend, I think United actually pretty much just nullified City.
Bruno as well has been fantastic.
Yeah, of course. But I think in terms of from a tactical point of view, I think there's plenty of teams who take inspiration.
You've got Liverpool again, haven't you?
United? No, that's
no. They
done.
play City, Arsenal, and Chelsea. So there's potential for a few more losses in there, but obviously they'll walk to the Premier League title. And I think all the chat about their season being a disappointment is a bit too much, really. I think
good banter.
I think McCubb's put it on perfectly on UCL Review yesterday. If you said at the start of the year you get a Premier League title, they take it. Anyway, that's all we've got time for on Continental Club for this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope you guys got to see Big Match Preview too. Obviously, Sam will keep abreast about whether the Bundesliga goes ahead. And let us know what you guys thought of our comments down below. Guys, what should they go do now?
Well, if you want to know what's happening with the world of football in its current state, please head over to Football Daily and check out We Talk, where we talk about all things about the football and what's happening. And then I guess...
I don't know, one of our own as well. Like
one of our own
Hamill's documentary on Leicester, which is excellent. Go show that some love over on FD as well. And I guess what Stat Wars is kind of still going on over here. It's me versus Savage Dan of Chelsea FC fame as well, and Filthy Fellas. Go and check that out. That's coming out tomorrow.
Nice. And we dropped another scout report, the new look scout reports that I think are really good actually on Lazio and why they're title contenders. So if you enjoy Italian football, which we covered a bit on this episode, go check that out. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.